be doing some reading today. Another fairy tale from the Grimm's brothers. My dog is right next to me, so you might hear some noises or some sniffing. But we'll just get right into it, not waste too much time today. There was a specific one I was thinking of reading. I have to remember which one it was. I believe it was The Lady and the Lion. Let's see. Page 117. Perfect. The Lady and the Lion. A merchant who had 3 daughters was once setting out upon a journey. But before he went, he asked each daughter what gift he should bring back for her. The eldest wished for pearls, the second for jewels, but the third said, "Dear father," "Dear father, bring me a rose. Bring me a rose." Now it was no easy task to find a rose, for it was the middle of winter. Yet as she was the fairest daughter, and was very fond of flowers, her father said he would try what he could do. So he kissed all 3 and bid them goodbye. And when the time came for his return, he had brought pearls and jewels for the 2 eldest, but he had sought everywhere in vain for the rose. And when he went into any garden and acquired such a thing, the people laughed at him and asked him whether he thought roses grew in snow. This grieved him very much, for his 3rd daughter was his dearest child. And as he was journeying home, thinking what he should bring her, he came to a fine castle, and around the castle was a garden. In half of it, which appeared to be summertime, and in the other half winter. On one side, the finest flowers were in full bloom, and on the other side everything looked desolate and buried in snow. "A lucky hit," said he, as he called out to his servant, and told him to bring a beautiful bed of roses. Beautiful bed of roses that was there, and bring him away one of the flowers. This done, they were riding away well pleased, when a fierce lion sprang up and roared out, "Whoever dares to steal my roses shall be eaten up alive." Then the man said, "I knew not that the garden belonged to you. Can nothing save my life?" "No," said the lion, "nothing unless you promise to give me whatever meets you first on your return home. If you agree to this, I will give you your life, and the rose too for your daughter." But the man was unwilling to do so, and said, "It may be my youngest daughter who loves me most, and always runs to meet me when I go home." Then the servant was greatly frightened, and said, "It may perhaps only be a cat or a dog." And at last the man yielded with a heavy heart, and took the rose and promised the lion whatever should meet him first on his return. And as he came near home, it was his youngest and dearest daughter that met him. She came running and kissed him and welcomed him home. And when she saw that he had brought her a rose, she rejoiced still more. But her father began to be very melancholy, and wept, saying, "Alas, "Alas, my dearest child, I have brought you this flower, dear, for I have promised to give you to a wild lion, and when he has you, he will tear you in pieces and eat you." And he told her all that had happened, and said she should not go, let what would happen. But she confronted him and said, "Dear father, what you have promised must be fulfilled. I will go to the lion and soothe him, that he may let me return again safe home." The next morning she asked the way to go, and took leave of her father, and went forth with a bold heart into the woods. But the lion was an enchanted prince, and by day he and all his court were lions, but in the evening they took their proper forms again. And when the lady came to the castle, he welcomed her so courteously that she consented to marrying him. The wedding feast was held, and they lived happily together for a long time. The prince was only to be seen as soon as evening came, and then he held his court. But every morning he left his bride and went away by himself, she knew not whither, till night came again. After some time he said to her, "Tomorrow there will be a great feast in your father's house, for your eldest sister is to be married, and if you wish to go to visit her, my lions shall lead you there." Then she rejoiced much at the thought of seeing her father once more, and set out with the lions, and everyone was overjoyed to see her, for they had thought her dead long since. But she told them how happy she was, and stayed till the feast was over, and then went back to the wood. Her second sister was soon after married, and when she was invited to the wedding, she said to the prince, "I will not go alone this time. You must go with me." But he would not, and said that would be a very hazardous thing, for if the last ray of the torchlight should fall upon him, his enchantment would become still worse, for he should be changed into a dove, and be obliged to wander about the world for 7 long years. However, she gave him no rest, and said she would take care no light should fall upon him. So at last they set out together, and took with them their little child too, and she chose a large hall with thick walls for him to sit in while the wedding torches were lighted. But unluckily no one observed that there was a small crack in the door. Then the wedding was held with great pomp, but as the train came from the church and passed with the torches before the hall, a very small ray of light fell upon the prince. In a moment he disappeared, and when his wife came in and sought him, she found only a white dove. And then he said to her, 7 years I must fly up and down over the face of the earth, but every now and then I will let fall a small white feather that shall show you the way I'm going. Follow it, and at last you may overtake me and set me free. And at last you may overtake and set me free." This said, he flew out at the door, and she followed him, and every now and then a white feather fell, and showed her the way she was to journey. Thus she went roving on through the wide world, and looking neither to the right hand nor to the left, nor took any rest for 7 years. Then she began to rejoice, and thought to herself that the time was fast coming when all her troubles should cease. Yet repose was still far off, for one day she was traveling on, and missed the white feather, and when she lifted up her eyes she could nowhere see the dove. Now, thought she to herself, no human aid can be of use to me. So she went to the sun and said, Thou shinest everywhere, on the mountain tops and in the valley depths. Hast thou anywhere seen a white dove? No, said the sun, I have not seen it. But I will give you thee a casket. Open it when thy hour of need comes. So she thanked the sun and went on her way till eventide. And when the moon arose, she came unto it and said, Thou shinest through all the night, over field and grove, over field and grove. Hast thou nowhere seen a white dove? No, said the moon, I cannot help thee, but I will give you thee an egg. Break it when need comes. Then she thanked the moon and went on till the night wind blew. And she raised up her voice to it and said, Thou blowest through every tree and under every leaf. Hast thou not seen a white dove? No, said the night wind, but I will ask the other winds. Perhaps they have seen it. Then the east and the west wind came, and said they too had not seen it. But the south wind said, I have seen the white dove. He has fled to the Red Sea, and is changed once more into a lion. For 7 years are passed away, and there he is fighting with a dragon. And the dragon is an enchanted princess, who seeks to separate him from you. Then the night wind said, I will give thee counsel. Go to the Red Sea. On the right shore stand many rods. Number them. And when thou comest to the 11th, break it off, and smite the dragon with it. So the lion will have the victory, and both of them will appear to you in their human forms. Then instantly set out with thy beloved prince, and journey home over sea and land. So the poor wanderer went forth, and found all that the night wind had said. She plucked the 11th rod, and smote the dragon, and immediately the lion became a prince, and the dragon a princess again. But she forgot the counsel which the night wind had given, and the false princess watched her opportunity, and took the prince by the arm and carried him away. Thus the unfortunate traveler was again forsaken and forlorn. But she took courage and said, As far as the wind blows, and so long as the cock crows, I will journey on till I find him once again. She went on a long way, till at length she came to the castle where the princess had carried the prince. And there was a feast prepared, and she heard that the wedding was about to be held. Heaven aid me now, she said, and she took the casket that the sun had given her, and found that within it lay a dress as dazzling as the sun itself. So she put it on and went into the palace, and all of the people gazed upon her. And the dress pleased the bride so much that she asked whether it to be sold. Not for gold or silver, answered she, but for flesh and blood. The princess asked what she meant, and she said, Let me speak with the bridegroom this night in his chamber, and I will give thee the dress. At last the princess agreed, but she told her chamberlain to give the prince a sleeping draught, that he may not hear or see her. When evening came, the prince had fallen asleep. She was led into his chamber, and she sat herself down at his feet and said, I have followed thee 7 years. I have been to the sun, the moon, and the night wind to seek thee. and at last I have helped thee to overcome the dragon. Wilt thou then forget me quite?" But the prince slept so soundly that her voice only passed over him, and seemed like the murmuring of the wind among the fir trees. Then she was led away and forced to give up the golden dress. And when she saw that there was no help for her, she went into the meadow and sat herself down and wept. But as she sat, she bethought herself of the egg that the moon had given her. And when she broke it, there ran out a hen of 12 chickens of pure gold, that played about and then nestled under the old one's wings, so as to form the most beautiful sight in the world. And she rose up and drove them before her till the bride saw them from her window, and was so pleased that she came forth and asked if she would sell the brode, not for gold or silver, but for flesh and blood. Let me again this evening speak with the bridegroom in his chamber. Then the princess thought to betray her as before, and agreed to what she asked. But when the prince went to his chamber, he asked the chamberlain why the wind had murmured so in that night, and the chamberlain told him all, how he had given him sleeping draught, and a poor maiden had come and spoken to him in his chamber, and was to come again that night. Then the prince took care to throw away the sleeping draught, and when she came and began again to tell him what woes had befallen her, and how faithful and true to him she had been, he knew his beloved wife's voice, and sprang up and said, "You have awakened me from a dream, for the strange princess had thrown a spell around me, so that I had altogether forgotten you. But heaven hath sent you to me in a lucky hour." And they stole away out of the palace by night secretly, for they feared the princess, and journeyed home, and there they found their child, now grown, comely and fair, lived happily together to the end of their days. Well, that was that story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're feeling nice and relaxed, and I will see you again soon.